Good adventures, everybody. I'm Melissa Bonsack, and welcome to episode 105 of Books Cubed, the show where I chat with authors you should be reading. It is Thursday, October 14th, 2021, and today we're talking Kindle Vella, which is a serial service. We've talked about this before on the show. We're going to talk about it again. It is a fantastic way to read little bits at a time. So let's get right to it. And I'll see you after. Okay, I want to welcome K.J. Gillenwater, and I'm going to read her bio real quick. She has a B.A. in English and Spanish from a university whose name I'm going to butcher. What's the name of the university?
Valparaiso University.
Where is that?
In Indiana, Northwest Indiana.
Ah, okay. And she has an MA in Latin American Studies from the University of California, Santa Barbara. She worked as a Russian linguist in the U.S. Navy. Aha, I see where some things are coming into the story that we're going to talk about. Spending time with a national security agency, and I had a friend who worked there, so we'll talk later. Doing secret things. And after 6 years of service, she ended up as a technical writer in the software industry. She's lived all over the U.S. and currently resides in Wyoming with her family, where she runs her own business writing government proposals and squeezes in fiction writing when she can. In the winter, she likes to ski and snowshoe. I've never done that, but I want to try it one day. In the summer, she gardens with her husband, takes walks with her dog, and explores the Bighorn Mountains. And she's written multiple books, but today we're going to start by talking about a new service that's out there called Vella. So welcome to the show.
Hi.
So I want to talk about a new service called Amazon Kindle Vella. And actually, I think they don't use the word Amazon in there, do they? They just use Kindle Vella.
Yeah, I think just Kindle Vella.
You have a story called The Genesis Machine, and you have 39 episodes out at the moment that we are recording this. So, episode. What does it mean by episode?
Well, I think in the world of serialized fiction, you have a little bit different of a reading experience. Serialized fiction, I guess you could say, is like the soap opera of the book world. The episode idea is that they're supposed to be maybe shorter than a book chapter would be, snappier, and they're supposed to kind of have cliffhanger style endings, sort of like a little TV show would have, at the commercial break. That's kind of how I viewed it. So I think that's kind of the difference with Vella versus just a regular ebook.
Yeah, and it's been out. I think it premiered mid-July.
Yeah,
mid-July.
I think July 16th, maybe.
Something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've lost track now. So your story is called The Genesis Machine. I can speak, and it has been high up in the charts. And people, when they read, they can give a thumbs up at the end of the episode that they've read. They can follow the story. And once a week, they can crown a series that is their favorite. I think it's, Mondays. Maybe? Is it once a week that they do that?
I think it reboots on Sunday. So I think Sunday is when everything kind of gets tossed away. And then maybe a Monday starts again, or something like that. And I think you can only give a crown if you have purchased an episode versus using free tokens or the free episodes. So there's a little bit of a twist there.
Yeah. Amazon, if you are not familiar at all with Vella, you go to your Kindle app or your iPad app on your phone or iPad, or you can go to Amazon.com. I think it's /Kindle. I'll find it and put it in the show notes. And you can read stories, and they will give you 200 free credits, and you get to read the first 3 episodes of a story for free. And then for every 100 words, you pay 1 token. So stories tend to average 8 to 15 tokens, it seems, per episode that I'm seeing. Do you think that's about right? So for your
I haven't seen too many episodes that are super duper long. When I've seen the longer episodes, it's usually authors who put a lot more into the first 3 episodes, I think, to just draw people in. But for the most part, I think you're right. I think that they stay but usually under 2,000 words from what I've seen.
Which is a nice chunk. Like you said before, it's
Mhm.
like watching a TV show, and it's that little chunk you get in between the commercial breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they always end on a little cliffhanger to bring you back after that commercial break, and that's what the Vella
Right.
episodes are doing. So tell everybody a little bit. The Genesis Machine is science fiction. So
Yeah.
tell everybody a little. You can't read, unfortunately, because Amazon doesn't want anybody getting these episodes uh,
Yeah.
without paying for them. But you can tell everybody about it.
Sure. I guess I found out it's called a techno thriller. It's science fiction. It's kind of near future. And when you put those two things together, that you have a techno thriller. So it doesn't necessarily mean I'm some like computer guru that's writing about some, crazy techie thing. So my story is about a Navy linguist. Oh, surprise, surprise. Who also was a linguistics major in graduate school. And she drops out of graduate school because she's disappointed in her academic pursuits and decides to just fling herself into the Navy because she enjoys learning language. And when she graduates from the language program, she gets recruited to this mysterious organization called NCISA, and the A stands for alien. And she's not quite sure why they wanted her. She was a Russian linguist, and now she's flying off to DC to figure out what this is all about. And it kind of goes from there. There's some alien pods involved that are landing in bodies of water around the United States, and nobody knows why. And she gets drawn in there for her linguistics capabilities so that she can translate some sort of strange text that they've found on one of these pods.
And how often do your episodes show up on the app?
Right. So I update my story twice a week on Sundays and Wednesdays. So there'll be a 40th episode tomorrow just for you, Melissa. And yeah. And I will have 40 tomorrow, and there's a lot more to come. So I just keep writing. I've got a lot more story to go, a lot more twists to come. In fact, it's starting to get to a really fun part soon. So I just keep cranking them out. And that's kind of how a lot of the authors are doing this, that the idea of serialized fiction will sort of be an of the moment written piece rather than a book that has been maybe taken a year to write and put together and edited and looked at a million times and then put out there. The Kindle Vella writers seem to be doing it more with a flair, kind of right at the moment, writing as they go, usually with a plan in mind. But anyway, it's just a little bit different experience for readers and for writers, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm participating myself. I won't talk much about mine, but I noticed that I belong to, I think that's how we met, a couple of Facebook and Clubhouse groups
Yeah.
that talk about Vella. And I see a lot of new writers really struggling with the format. They're so used to the idea of writing a chapter. A chapter is a chapter, and then you like you said, you write the whole thing, and then you have somebody edit it, and then you think about it for a while, and then it eventually gets out there in the world. And what do you think? And I see a lot of them really struggling. So if somebody is thinking about writing in this format? Are some suggestions, since you've got 40 episodes under your belt now?
Yeah.
What were some things that you would suggest to these new writers coming into this new serial platform?
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of writer you are. And not that you can't do it if you're a certain kind of writer, but it might be more difficult. So I, as a norm, tend to underwrite my books. I tend to have short chapters. I also kind of have a lot of action in my other normal print books. And it just so happened that this one story had been sitting on the back burner for years and years. And I just instantly knew that it would work because of not only the story, but how I had written it. So if you want to get into Vella, you really need to think about constant something happening. There isn't a lot of time for tons of exposition. I think that would slow things down. So you always have to look for a way to kind of give them a little bit and make them want more. So, I think some that are struggling are used to having very long exposition. That's not everybody, but some. And those were some of the ones I read. I think they made very long episodes at the beginning, but I think you need to be able to hook people in at the very, very beginning, tell them exactly what this is about, and don't try and give them something different than what you advertise. So I think the tags are very important. Be honest about your tags. Don't just slap tags on there. The different categories, I guess you call them, like romance or twists and turns or enemies to lovers. There's all different kinds of tags. I think it's very important to the first couple of tags should be really narrowed down to exactly what your story is so that you don't surprise somebody with what the content is. And that way you get the readers reading your first 3 episodes that truly want to read what you're writing. And I think when I first entered the serialized fiction world, I had been told, oh, well, it's all romance. Those are the popular stories, romance, romance, romance. And I don't have romance as the first tag on my book. In fact, it's not the main category of my book. I thought I'm going to go out there and be super honest. The second tag on my book is military because she's Navy. And I know that I have some military terminology right in the very beginning. And I just don't want someone to read an episode, the first episode, where I'm throwing terminology at you and then be turned off. So that's kind of what I would recommend. Short, snappy, be honest. Don't try and think, oh, well, this is the top rated story, so I'm going to use their tags. And just be honest. You want to find your readers.
And at the moment, unfortunately, when you go to an author's, the Amazon page, they don't list the Kindle Vella under your books. Unfortunately.
Well, you know what you do there? So my workaround was I've had my blog attached to my Amazon author page. And I just left up my very last blog post was about my Vella story. So I thought, at least when you go to my author page, it's right there. And I'm just leaving my blog kind of alone for now until they do something to update that.
That's a good idea. I know that if you look up someone's name and if they have a Vella, it will be listed among their books on the page before you click on the author's name. I don't know why they're doing that. This has been a very slow rollout. They've started in the U.S. The U.S. really doesn't understand serial fiction. It's really big elsewhere in the world. Yeah. I think that once it goes worldwide, authors will see a spike in readership. I see a lot of people complaining right now that there aren't a lot of reads for their stories, but it's just in the U.S. And I think a lot of people, I'm having to explain to a lot of people what Vella is. Right. Though I was out for lunch the other day, and the waitress is a friend, and she asked me, what have you got that's new? And I said, well, I've got a Vella story I'm writing. And she went, oh, yeah, I know Vella. She said, yeah, you can get. I said, really? What do you know about it? And she said, you can find it on your Kindle app or your Apple app, or your iPad app, and you can find it if you go to the Amazon site. And I'm like, wow. So I was really happy to hear that she knew what it was and she'd heard of it. I guess she'd gotten some emails from them. So they're starting to roll out some advertising for it, which is good.
Right.
Yeah, besides yours, there's a lot of good stories that I've been finding on
Me
Vella.
too. Yeah, there's some really neat stuff on there. And I'm kind of enjoying, I found I like the serialized story kind of better than a book. I don't tend to sit down and read for long periods of time anymore. I don't know, I've just gotten out of the habit. I guess as I get older, I just have too much going on to just sit there for an hour and read. So it really works well for me to open up my phone while I'm waiting at the dentist, and I can read just one episode because they're short. Most of them are short. You can read it in like 2 minutes, and then you're kind of left with this idea of, ooh, I got to go back and read some more when maybe I'm waiting somewhere else. And it does a good job. The app does a good job of letting you know when there's new episodes. If you follow the story, I'll get a notification that I have a new episode, and it kind of stays around for like a day, I think. And so it'll just pop up on my phone. I'm like, oh yeah, I remembered I liked that story. And then you can just go back and read the next episode when it suits you. So for a certain kind of person, I think it's actually a kind of a neat way to read.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And yeah, I seem to have less time to sit and actually just read. And I just got a Jules Verne, all of his stories in one book. So I wanted to reread them all. And I picked it up today and I read one page and I thought, I have all this stuff I've got to get finished. I can't
Right.
sit and read. I can't. And that's all I want to do. But I found that, yes, just picking it up and getting the notification. So make sure if you're following any of these stories, everybody listening, that you follow the stories, that you hit follow. And then you will get a notification when the new episodes are out. Have you noticed, and you got 40 out now, so have you noticed that you'll have days where you'll just have huge numbers of reads and you think it's people finding your story and just binging all of the episodes?
Yeah, so that's a lot of times that's what happens. I do have quite a few followers. I don't know who's following me or why, but I love it. So my assumption is when I see this binge, and I will see somebody just pick it up and read it all in one day, everything available, like, which is, like I said, 39 episodes. They'll read almost all the way to the end in one day. And so I think those might be followers that have flagged my book and came back. And then I will also see a lot of activity, mostly on the weekends, a lot of times on Sundays for some reason. People are reading late into the night on Sundays. And it's interesting to see the data. You get really instant data on each episode. And so I kind of like my own little statistics. I like to see how many people read episode 1 and then how many people read episode 2. And it's an interesting breakdown of, 1 out of 4 people read episode 2. And then you get to episode 3. Oh, it's, another percentage of those people. And every day you add followers. But yeah, I see people binging quite a bit rather than just doing one little episode, waiting for the next one little episode until you get to the end. Then you're kind of having to wait.
Yes, and it's Tuesday, and like you said, there's a new episode tomorrow, so I'll be very happy to read while I'm making my tea. And I was just thinking I might go back and reread the entire thing because I've been reading since almost the beginning. So how many episodes did you have to start?
I had 24 episodes on opening day, and it was really just luck because I had just been scheduling them for several months, and then they opened store. And I think that's what helped me at the beginning get visibility because I had so many episodes to read. And then I found out that the free coins they give you, plus the 3 free episodes, would get everyone to about episode 22 or 23, which is almost everything I had. So that was kind of really cool. And I think it helped me out to have all of those available on the first day.
I must have found you on the first day. I remember going through and just sitting and looking through everything because I knew your story when I met you on Vella. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe I mentioned it.
Not Vella, on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how people found me. I think I got lucky also that the very first week they put me in the featured stories list, but I was on the very last page. So it wasn't like I was right there when you opened it, but people scrolling probably found it that way. I don't know.
I think that must be how I found it because I did scroll through them all. Because I wanted to see what was out there. It was very exciting. We'd been waiting for months and months for it to start. And, you heard people talking about that they were going to be doing it, but nobody really knew what it was going to look like until it was out there.
Not even the writers.
Not even the writers. And so you can, as you're reading the episodes, when you finish an episode, you get to the very bottom, there'll be something called author notes. And the authors will include behind the scenes things or what they were thinking about when they wrote, maybe things they left out. It depends on the story and the writer. They're all different. Everybody gives something different in those author notes. But unfortunately, at the moment, people cannot comment.
I'm okay with that.
Are you okay?
Well, for one, I think I used the author notes poorly. I don't really understand how to best use them. So I've been kind of like messing around with them. And I think the most useful one is probably after episode 3, because that's the last, free read really, once the free tokens disappear. So I think I tried to put some little sales thing in there, but I don't want comments because I've seen how comments can go bad. I just think about bad, like people that jump onto reviews on Goodreads and trash somebody's book, and kind of like the girl gang thing. And I don't really need to get that type of feedback. I think the feedback for me is purely opening up my data and seeing someone binge my episodes. That is like the most thrilling thing ever, to see someone just boom, boom, and spending money on it. I mean, these are people that aren't just using free tokens. You see like your 5 cents add up to $1 in one day or something. And that makes me feel like I must be doing something right, So I wish more people would write reviews, because you can, but I get that it's kind of odd to write a review for something that's still going. It's not a finished product. So it's a little odd.
Yeah, I agree too. Yeah, well, I suppose then if you're listening and you want to write a review about what you've read so far, you can do that. But yeah, it is strange to write reviews as something is still going on. That is kind of strange. Now, if they did write the reviews, would you be reading those?
Yeah, because I did. I started looking around for stories that had reviews when I saw that. And I'm like, oh, look, they've got, especially when they had more than one. I'm like, how did they get 6 reviews? So I would want to see what people had to say. So for me, it was interesting. I guess you could also just do a starred rating without a written review. You could just give it stars, something like that, I guess. But the one for the first review I got was really kind of cool. It's from someone on Instagram that started just a specific Vella review page. And she kind of reviews your first 3 episodes. So is it interesting? Did it hook me? What did I think? And she just leaves it there so that you can decide for yourself if you want to check out the first 3 episodes, which I thought was kind of a good way to do it. Because if it hooks you, it hooks you,
That's true. Yeah. And if it does hook you, you're going to get those free tokens. Because once you've read through 3, if you haven't claimed your free tokens, Amazon will ask you, would you like to get your free tokens?
Yes. Get your free tokens.
Yeah, and I once my free tokens were gone, I spent them rather quickly. I quickly purchased a bundle. They have bundles, different prices. I can't remember what the prices are, but I'll look them up for the most current and stick them in the show notes.
And just a little tip to readers: you get more if you buy directly on the Amazon site versus within your iOS app. That's what I've seen. Because if you buy within the iOS app, they have to give their cut to Apple. And if you buy it directly from Amazon, you get a few more tokens, from my understanding.
Ooh, well, I will look into that and leave and tell you in the show notes. That's a great tip, because I am getting down I was going to look to see, but I don't want to have to fiddle with my phone. I think I only have a couple hundred tokens left, and I'm reading 5 or 6 stories. So
look at you.
Yeah, this week I'm gonna, and it makes it much easier to read an episode while I'm waiting for the toast to pop up, or while the oven is preheating, I really like the experience of the episodes. And I was a huge TV watcher growing up as a kid, and so
me too.
I loved that those 10-15 minutes, in between the commercials, where you had that story going on, and then there would be a commercial, you'd run to the bathroom or get a snack real quick and go running back for more. And that's very much the feeling with these. And I know anybody listening who doesn't live in the U.S. is laughing, going, you morons, we've had this for years in our country, and welcome to the party kind of thing.
Right.
And I know we do have Wattpad and Radish. Is that the other one? I think.
Yeah, there's a few others, but I think Radish is probably known in the U.S., where some of the others are more Asian-based. I know there's one in South Korea and a couple of others that I've heard of, but mostly Asian countries. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know when you mentioned romance, I think Wattpad was very YA, young adult, and I think Radish is romance, isn't it?
I think it might be all romance, but I'm not too sure on that. I never tried. I was on Wattpad for a while, but I didn't like that experience as much, because you're buried in a bunch, just loads of stuff. And right now in Vella, I think there's about 9,000 stories. So I feel as if you can be seen. I feel as if the good stuff actually is read. Whereas on Wattpad, it was so much good, bad, and the ugly that it was hard for people to find you. So
Yeah, and I
I'm
think
kind of enjoying this small pool.
yeah, and I think the quality of the stories I'm reading on
Yeah,
Vella are much better than what I read on Wattpad.
agreed.
But it's been a lot of years since I read on Wattpad. I think the
Me
thing that
too.
for me the thing that was tiring was that they wanted you to keep commenting on on everybody's stories. So if you wrote on
Yeah.
Wattpad, they wanted you to not only write on there and have lots of episodes, but you had to
Mm,
spend a lot of time talking to other people about theirs and
mm.
making notes and as I recall, there was you would highlight sections and then discuss those sections
I don't
and
know. There were so many features that I probably didn't use. I just kind of used it as an incubator for fun. I just put some short story on there and just to be inspired, more than looking to find a huge audience. But you're right. I think the quality on Vella is a lot better. And I think that's because it started out as a money making endeavor for authors, where Wattpad was really started out as a free for all. Anybody could post, and this you're trying to gain readership because you want to get paid. So a little bit different drive. So you want to put out a good product.
yeah, and at the end of the day, as much as we like to call ourselves artists, we do like to eat. We do like to pay our rent, and
Yeah.
occasionally drive our car places, and that all costs money. And so
Yeah.
yeah, if you can buy episodes and support authors, that's so huge. It
And
helps them
honestly,
so
it's so
much.
cheap, people. It's so cheap. You can read thousands of words for free before you ever have to buy an episode if you get the free tokens. I mean, and then when I look, it's, like 5 or 10 cents an episode. So just pay as you go. You don't have
Yeah,
to buy a book, hate it, and then go, why did I waste $4.99 on that? You can stop if you don't like it. Don't put any more 10 cents. Move on to the next. So,
yeah, exactly. And I read half of a story, and I spent my 200 credits doing that, and I got halfway through the person's book. And I thought, well, that's when I bought more. So I got to find out what happens next. So
right. And then you really like it. So,
yeah, yeah. Well, I think
yeah.
I think it's I'm really happy about it, and I see a lot of authors, which makes me sad. I saw a lot of authors talking about how they gave it time and they're done and they're getting
Yeah.
out of it because it just didn't do anything for them. And I'm thinking,
It's been like
dude,
2 months.
it's been 2 months. And this is like a month ago. People were saying this.
Yeah.
I'm thrown in the towel. It's like,
Right.
dude, there's only 9,000 stories out there right now. 9,000. There's 9 million or more on Amazon. You are
Right.
so easy to find right now.
Right.
It's the best time to be involved with this is
I
right
mean, when
now.
somebody described it in one of the groups on Facebook, and then I kind of understood. And maybe it's because I'm not a super successful author. But some of these people, that's their absolute living. They have no other income, but they're writing, and they have a lot of success with their ebooks. And perhaps they're in KU, or maybe they're just, putting out ebooks every other month. And they know how much money they can make off those ebooks. And I don't think they have the time to waste monetarily. And I'm not that person because I'm actually doing the best I've ever done as an author with this story on Vella. And part of it is due to the bonus structure that they've created. That is incredible. But just the reaction that I'm getting and the ease with which I can make $1 or $2 on any given day, it's turning out to be more lucrative for me personally. So I think I can understand some of these authors that are used to generating a lot of income from a single book. And I am not that person. I've never been that person. I've had to work for every sale. So, it's nice to finally feel noticed and have somebody really enjoying you at a level that I don't remember having with my other books. So maybe that's what it is.
Well, I can understand that. But people who think that they were going to become, famous
Yeah.
and rich on
Right.
Vella instantly,
Right.
the first week people were complaining that they didn't have reads and they were throwing in the towel. And I thought, It's been
Yeah,
a
I
week.
assumed that was people that had never written a story before, perhaps. A lot of them, that never were able to complete a novel and saw this as a way to motivate them to complete a novel and really thought that writers make piles of money. I mean, that sort of is what I thought, because if you've completed a book, and I've done many, you know that you can complete a whole story. I mean, I know I'm going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I know that I can keep it going. And it could be that some of them, maybe choked a little bit, scared them a little bit. And when they didn't see the return that they wanted, they didn't have the patience to wait. But like you and I mean, we've been writing a while, and you're just kind of out there. It takes a lot of work and effort to get a book out the door. So, you kind of have a different attitude, I think, if you've been there, done that.
Do you think that since you put out 2 episodes a week, do you think this
Yeah.
is pushing you to write more than you would if you were just sitting down to write a novel?
Well, yes and no. I'm trying to stay ahead as far as I can so that I am never under the gun, like, oh my God, I have to put something up. I don't want to be that person. However, I had to set aside another book that I was writing, like a regular book, in order to keep the level going with this story. So what I do is I write as much as I can in just a plain document. And I don't even think about where I'm going to break the story or any of the episode ideas. So I just dump everything in there and just keep going. And then once I feel like I just don't have any more to write, then I'll go back and find out how I want to break it up into episodes, and you can kind of figure it out. Sometimes I do it naturally without even realizing. Other times I kind of have to add a little more here and there. And then, I start scheduling on my episodes. So it's a different way of writing, and it seems faster because I don't have to focus on this completeness of a book. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but this story idea originally for me was maybe going to be some kind of series. I just had that feeling a long time ago. And that takes effort to build like 3 books that are in a series that have these arcs and endings and character progressions. And when you're doing a Vella story, it can be really long. It can go off on tangents. I can go forward in time, backward in time. I can follow a single character if I want. So there's a lot more freedom to go in any direction I want and end it whenever I want, to keep it going as long as I want. So I think that's actually freed me up in many ways and made it easier.
Now, you talk about research that
Yes.
you do now. You did work for NSA, and you were in the Navy, was it?
I was in the Navy. I was a Russian linguist in the Navy.
Russian
so there's
linguist.
that
So
alignment there.
yeah, that really works out to be to really help you. So you don't really have to sit down and try to. I mean, you can't really tell us how much is really taken from your day-to-day life working in the Navy and working for NSA.
Right.
But it probably helps you overall with the story. I mean, you can fudge accurately here and there for
Right.
things that that you may have to create on your own or have kind of taken from things that have happened. So I'm
Right.
guessing that you made up some of the alien stuff.
Yeah, maybe some of that I made up. Yeah. What's always bothered me about movies and TV shows that do anything to do with top secret or anything like that, they just do stupid things that would never really happen, and so it wouldn't be allowed. Just wouldn't be allowed. So part of my thought process was I wanted to make it slightly more realistic. And I do take some license because communication has to happen outside of a secure facility, but some of how the building is set up and some of how they have to interact or work within a building, I just wanted that to be more real. I didn't want it to be fake, so I think I made it a little more realistic in that sense. And I've heard that back from some of my friends who've been reading it. Even my own mother has said, oh, it's so interesting, because they feel like they're kind of getting a window into what it was like for me, but it only is from a a fictional sort of perspective. But that was kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to ground it more in reality. But as far as like researching goes, sometimes I get really caught up in a topic and I enjoy researching the heck out of it. And then it ends up, kind of starting the idea for a book. And in this case, I brought so much with it from my own experience that the research aspect becomes more like locational maps, street views, if I put them in a place or a location, having to kind of do that on the fly, which I think is pretty normal for a lot of writers to do. But beyond that, I just kind of do it as I feel. I don't know. Maybe there's a lot more in my brain than I realize. So things that I picked up over the years that are interesting to me, I don't know. But I'm sure you understand as a writer that sometimes just things come out of your mind about a character or what's going to happen, and you don't really know where it came from. It just appears on the paper. So yeah, I do a little bit of back research if I have to fix something, but I think for the most part, it's grounded in enough of my own experience that I don't have to sit there and look it all up all the time,
I got to ask, have you in the, I forget which episode it was, but they go to North Dakota. They go to Devil's Lake. Yeah. Have you been there?
No, in fact, there was a very specific reason at the beginning when I started this book, why I put things in certain locations. The opening scene was there specifically for a reason, and that kind of changed. So I just already had North Dakota on there. And then I knew that I needed to have some kind of military facility nearby. And I knew there was a base in North Dakota. And so I just started looking on a map for like a body of water, really. And here, lo and behold, Devil's Lake. I'm like, well, that's cool. So, like I said, sometimes you fall into things that you never really planned on. And it actually makes for kind of a cool story because the name alone was just so attractive to me.
Yeah, my husband was military and we were stationed in Grand Forks and used to go to Devil's Lake to go fishing all the time. So I was really excited to see Devil's Lake in the story. Yeah, the lake, I'll tell you, in the winter, the ice is really thick. And when we go ice fishing, you could drive your car out on the ice and it wasn't an issue because it was, feet thick. And one day my husband is out there, pre-cell phone days, unfortunately. And this guy, Devil's Lake had been increasing in volume over the years. So it was the lake was getting bigger and you were losing land to the lake. So this guy decided to move his house from one side of the lake to the other. So it's a 2-story house on a flatbed truck across the lake.
The ice. That's a story in itself right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. I used to make my husband take everything out of the truck. It was this old 4Runner. I'd make him take everything out that was valuable, and I'd tell him if it starts to go through the ice, just jump out too. And he's like,
well,
and he came
a
home.
Weird coincidence that you happen to have been there. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Crazy.
But it didn't. I mean, it felt like you were talking about Devil's Lake. Reading it, I didn't.
You can do a lot with Google Maps and YouTube videos.
So before we go, because I've kept you for ages and ages here, I got to ask you. So as a writer, we love research, and we can't always go places, and we love to, I don't know, go on trips and check things out, or even buy ourselves crazy things. Like I have this wonderful green screen behind me. Anyway, so what is your favorite purchase that you used money for your writing career?
Oh, wow. Probably my iMac. I love that thing. It's got like a mega screen. It's huge, massive screen. The biggest one I could get, the fastest processor I could get. And I love that because I can get Vellum, not Vella, but Vellum. And it's only available for Macintosh users. And it's a way that you can create print books, the interiors, the print book and the ebook, and format it like a breeze. And I am so glad that I ended up using a Mac kind of by default, and then found out about this program. So that, well, then I could say that would be one of my best purchases is Vellum. We'll add that on there too. But the other tool that I really enjoy as an author is BookBrush, just for making ads and graphics for my newsletters. I've even made a cover in there. So, and it's super cheap. I mean, to me it is, if I can just go on there and download a bunch of, graphics all in one day, because some of them you can just set up and do automatically with your book cover included. And so that has been a ton of fun. Before BookBrush, I was trying to make things like in Photoshop, because I have Photoshop on my iMac, and I'm not that great at it. It would take me hours and hours and hours. I've designed my own covers on there, and it would take me days to get the measurements right and figure out how to overlay things. And, I'm not a graphic designer. So those are probably my best purchases.
Oh, those are good ones. Those are good ones. If you are listening and you are a writer, Vellum is fantastic. I want to say it's $299.
Yeah, it's a little pricey, but man, what it does, especially if you're putting together, if you're a writer that does a series, it's so easy to package a series together. You just drag and drop your files and you have like a combined file, and you can sell your series all boxed together. Really easy.
Yeah, and you can make links, and you just type in once,
Yep.
and then it
Yes.
puts, once you hit generate, it puts everything in its own folder. So your file that goes to Amazon goes in a folder. Your file that goes to Kobo goes in a folder. Every store, they have like, I don't know, a bunch of them. You've got them all in their own folder, and I love it so much. I write in Vellum.
So does one of my friends. Yeah, she writes directly in Vellum.
Yeah, it's cool. Easier for me. I used Scrivener for years and years, and trying to create a ebook and a paperback, and it was just a nightmare trying to create with those. So I'm
gonna use everything now. I use Word for for my Vella store. I use Word because I just have each episode in its own individual doc file. But my longer books I do in Scrivener, and then when I'm done rearranging it all, I export it to Word, do my editing, then I take that and I put it in Vellum. So everybody's got their system.
Oh, everybody does, and everybody, you need to use what works best for you.
Yeah.
Try everything. What works for you. Keep doing that. I hear people all the time say, "Well, how do you do it? Maybe I should do it like you do." No.
Trial and error sometimes.
Yeah. It's because what works for one person is not going to work for another. Okay.
Right.
Oh, I want to thank you for coming on today and chatting about the Genesis Machine. It is called the Genesis Machine, and you can go to Kindle on the app on your phone, or you can go on the iPad. And when it's time to buy more tokens, run over to Amazon and sign into your account and buy the tokens there. And you know what? I think I saw that it was like $1,700 tokens for like $14.99 or something like that.
Oh, really? I just know the basic package, the $199, 200 tokens, which I think is what you get if you buy them directly through Amazon. I think if you buy them through the Apple app, it's less tokens for the $199. But the bigger packages, I don't know, because I just do little bits.
Yeah, I'm going to go look again because I can't remember where I saw that, and I'll put it down in the show notes, and I'll have links to the Genesis Machine, and it will take you to the Amazon page, and then all you have to do is sign into your Amazon account and tell it to follow, so that you can follow the story. And it's every Sunday and Wednesday that they drop. What time do they drop?
I think like at midnight. I mean, I think maybe for East Coast midnight. So maybe 10 o'clock tonight, my time. You can start reading. Midnight, you're in Florida. So you gotta wait, Melissa.
If I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm going to check and see if it's up yet. I'll be very excited. Well, that'll be sad because I won't have anything to read while I make my tea. So I probably shouldn't do that.
Well, thank
how
you
can people?
So much for having me on.
Oh, I was so glad you could come on. And how can people find you if they want to chat with you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's just kjgillenwater.com. And actually my landing page has my Vella story right there. And you can click on the link right from that page if you want. And also my other books are on there. Information about me. You can send me a message if you want. I love hearing from people. I have a contact form. I also have a newsletter. So if you just kind of sit there on my website for maybe 5 seconds, a little box will pop up and you can join my newsletter. And I put in a newsletter once a month, and if there's any special announcements or contests, I might have an extra. But I'd love to have more newsletter people.
That sounds good. Everybody go and check those things out. And thank you so much for being on. And I can't wait to read tomorrow's episode.
Oh, thanks so much. See you soon, Melissa.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Kristen. Everything we discussed on the show today will be down there in the show notes. If you would like to comment, click on that word comment. It will take you over to the YouTube page, and I will be able to find it easily. We're also on Instagram at books_cubed. If you've got any suggestions for books that I must read, or if you're an author and you have a fantastic book that I must read, tell me about it. I need books to read. And that's it. I have another great show for you next week. And until then, go read a good book.